Hi there, it's me, Alicia Butler-Pierre, producer of the Scale Tales podcast. Thank you for clicking on this video. What you're about to see is a shorter version of the full podcast interview. If you want to see the full version of this video, which does include a demo of some of the things you're about to learn, then stay tuned to the end where you'll learn exactly how you can sign up for our membership portal. I hope to see you there. Now back to the video.
Welcome to Scale Tales. These are tales, stories that other founders, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and subject matter experts will share about those magical moments when they scaled an entire business or perhaps a product or service line within a business. This storytelling show is designed with you in mind. The person seeking to do something extraordinary or achieve a transformational breakthrough in the business you own or the business you work for. Our goal is for you to not just be inspired by the words you hear, but to be equipped to take action. And as for me, who am I? Well, I'm Alicia Butler-Pierre. I'm the creator and producer of this show, and I'm the founder of a company called Equilibria Incorporated. Welcome to Scale Tales.
This podcast is brought to you by Equilibria Inc. Did you know you can earn PDUs from listening to this show? It's easy, accessible, and submitted directly to PMI. Keep listening to learn more.
Equilibria provides training to assist fast-growing companies to increase capacity and cash flow while operating at maximum performance. As a leader, founder, or project manager, you know all too well that chaotic work environments aren't sustainable. Visit eqbsystems.com to sign up for a free discovery call and start flowing today. eqbsystems.com. Welcome to Scale Tales, the business storytelling podcast where entrepreneurs, executives, and experts share firsthand accounts of those magical moments when they achieved something bigger than even they could have imagined. I'm Alicia Butler-Pierre. About 20 years ago, yes, I'm showing my age, but about 20 years ago, I remember an email circulating about fear. It suggested rethinking that word as an acronym that stands for false evidence appearing real. One good way to combat fear is education, maybe even exposure to the very thing you're fearful of, provided, of course, it's legal. This brings us to our latest Scale Tale. It's an interesting story that lies at the intersection of the fear of managing your own money, frustration in not finding a suitable product to combat the fear, and AI. This is episode 40, how Alexander Harmsen scaled PortfolioPilot.com to 30,000 users in 18 months.
Hello, I'm Alexander Harmsen, co-founder and CEO of PortfolioPilot.com. I'm currently in San Francisco, California, and this is my Scale Tale. It all started in September of 2021. Over the years, we've grown to about $30 billion of assets on the platform and over 30,000 users with PortfolioPilot.com, your personal AI financial advisor. In early 2021, I had sold my previous company and we bought a house in the Bay Area in San Francisco. We had kids. We have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. My wife runs a startup in the biotech space called Very Sim Life. They've been wildly successful. And I was trying to figure out what exactly to do next. I took on my coding gloves for the first time in a little while. I was prototyping different things, talking to investors, talking to other entrepreneurs, people that had sold businesses before, trying to talk to new customers, coming up with new prototypes. And sort of around the same time, I was talking to financial advisors and couldn't quite shake the idea that I was speaking more to salespeople than financial experts. I looked at robo-advisors, and robo-advisors didn't quite feel like and the right thing for me. It felt like more lowest common denominator advice. I saw that there was 1,000 different trading tools out there, but the trading tools didn't, it's not really what I wanted to do. Portfolio management every single day, take care, react to markets, and trade. What I really wanted was a coach to help me optimize my finances, to think about taxes and long-term scenario modeling and estate planning, and thinking about viewing everything in the same place and thinking about the right investment decisions and fees and dividends. And this is a complicated world. There's so many different opportunities. There's so many things that you could be doing to optimize your finances. And so the idea of having this personal coach along this journey with me made a lot of sense. The exit was good, but it wasn't Bill Gates good. And so I couldn't, hire a team of experts around me to run a family office and take care of all this. And so instead, what I ended up doing was building the software system, prototyping something, spent a couple months putting together this optimization engine that would basically run through my entire finances, connect it to what's happening in markets, and then come up with a few optimization suggestions for what I could do next. And that seemed to work pretty well. I mean, it was clunky, and it would take 4 hours to run, and it would give me 10 suggestions, and 2 of them would end up being actually actionable and something I would actually do. But it was good enough, and there was tons of potential here to be able to turn it into a real product. I started talking to friends and family and other people on my network, and almost everyone that I spoke to liked the idea that AI or some automated software could connect to their personal life, to their finances, and actually just help them find optimization opportunities. Even now, a couple years later in 2025, I think we're not quite at the point in society where we can trust AI to manage our money for us. But the idea that AI can find these optimization opportunities feels very open.
In his attempt to find a solution to his own problem in finding tailored personal financial advice, Alexander unknowingly placed himself on a new software development path.
And then I honestly think from there, it sort of snowballed. It felt like, on day one, we had just me as the user, and then we had 10 people and 100 people. And, talking to 100 people, it was still, pretty easy to talk to every single person, get feedback. We had this beta trial going, trying to figure out, how would we actually give financial advice to people? How can we give recommendations? What will they react to? What won't they react to? There's a lot of psychology involved there that means that it's much more than just objectively telling someone what the quote unquote perfect portfolio is. For many people, there's a fear and a greed to control. They are worried about just not having the right skills and expertise to be able to manage their own finances. And so a lot of it is about instilling confidence and education. It's about giving people advice at the right time without overwhelming them. And so we learned a lot from these early feedback conversations. Then we spent a long time actually getting registered as a registered investment advisor with the SEC to be able to actually get some fiduciary responsibility for this completely automated AI-powered engine that we had built. And then finally, September of 2023, we could start charging for the product. We had the regulatory approval to operate as an RIA, and we've made our first dollar. And so, part of that was just finding the right partnership opportunities. Part of it was just continuing to iterate with users, right? Actual referral traffic from existing users is a huge part of what allows us to scale and continue growing so quickly. And then basically over the last 18 months, we went from, $0 in revenue to now, have like fairly significant revenue, 30,000 users and $30 billion of assets on the platform. Basically in 2024, late 2024, about half a year ago, we decided, in 2025, we're not going to add any features to the product. All we're going to do is just improve the reliability, improve the user experience, make sure the advice keeps getting better and better, really narrow down on the kinds of questions we're asking people so we can give them personalized advice. And so far, this seems to be working really well. A lot of our focus is on these big partnerships. We actually bought a media brand recently called diversification.com. And so we're scaling that up and really focusing on giving like very interesting, impactful stories through that for the long-term investor in particular. Right? It sort of feels like millennials have left financial advisors, human financial advisors behind in a really big way. These are people that are becoming self-directed investors. They are managing more and more of their own money, but there's more opportunities than ever before. And so, so much, so many different things that you could buy or sell or own. How do you think about 529s and 401ks and 403s? And how do you think about Roth IRAs and conversions and emergency funds and cash and brokerage accounts and crypto wallets and real estate and student debt and private equity? There's so much out there. And so, if we can make that a little bit easier for people, a little bit more guided, that really feels like the core mission that we're on, especially over years as, this compounds and people can save, put more money and ultimately retire more money in their bank account.
If that sounded like a mouthful, it was. And for good reason. I think Alexander is being really modest here, but let's reflect on what he's shared so far. In a span of 2 years, he sold a company and started a new one where he coded his way from no users and no revenue to over 30,000 users and tens of thousands of US dollars monthly. That's no small feat at all. It can take some entrepreneurs a lifetime to achieve this, if ever. Before diving further into the details of how he did it, I thought it would be helpful to understand more about him and his background. How does someone just decide one day to don coding gloves they haven't worn in a while? Well, it turns out he's always been interested in complex systems modeling. What is complex systems modeling? To be honest, I had to get some research assistance from AI. Even the original answer was over my head, so I asked AI to further simplify the definition. Complex systems modeling is when you make a quote-unquote simplified version or a model of something with many connected parts to help others understand how the whole thing works together, unquote. In other words, Alex is really smart, and simplifying the complex is his jam.
I went to school for engineering, physics, and economics. Feels like a little bit of everything. At the end of the day, it was all about complex systems modeling. And so the idea that, the real world is messy and complex and has these very complicated relationships, means that, if you can model a piece of that, connect it to some commercial enterprise, then there's real opportunities for efficiencies and gains and being able to help people better understand some scenario, whatever it is. Could be financial optimization, could be drug development, could be autonomous vehicles. And so I worked at NASA for a little while on computer vision systems for robotics and flying autonomous vehicles. I worked on various experiments for the International Space Station. I worked on a drone package delivery startup in San Francisco very early on, before Jeff Bezos said, Amazon's really going to get into the, drone package delivery game. We were really early on. We were working 12-hour days. This was super, super exciting, in this whole new industry. And then in 2015, I started a company called Iris Automation. And so Iris Automation basically built autonomous vehicle software, very different than, the financial advice and financial modeling that we're doing right now. In some ways, very similar.
This is your chance to be a part of making history in the personal finance space. Alex is offering a free month of the gold tier of PortfolioPilot.com.
You'll get a free month of PortfolioPilot Gold.
But, yes, there's a but, it's only available to our members. In fact, our members can also see Alex's demo of PortfolioPilot.com in our private portal. But that requires a membership, which starts at only $9.99 per month. That gives you a backstage pass where you can access things like the video demonstration of PortfolioPilot.com, as well as getting the codes to access special offers. Click the link in the show notes to sign up for a membership today. If you are a PMP interested in earning a PDU for listening to this episode and others, then you can also visit ScaleTalesPodcast.com. Once you're there, click the button that says Get CEUs/PDUs credits, sign up for a membership, and we'll submit your earned credit to PMI for you. Thank you for listening. If you learned something valuable from this episode, please leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening. Make sure you subscribe to the show so that you don't miss it.